Aloha, everyone. Michelle Melendez with Blossom Inner Wellness and StandTogetherHawaii.com. And I'm really excited. I have a sister on Oahu who is joining me today, Jessica Priya. She is the founder of an amazing parent. I'm going to actually let her share all of her stuff because we just were talking and she's a plethora of information. She's an activist. We've actually worked on some projects a couple years ago on what was happening here on the islands. And Jessica, share a little bit about your background and the company or the foundation you founded.
Yeah, so I started Hawaii Parents United, and essentially that got started because when we were fighting for our rights and the right to choice, our basic unalienable rights, if you will, the problem was is that there was a end site for adults but not for the children in the public schools, and the parents really struggle to show up, to know what to say, to protect their children. So I started off being a parent child advocate with that, and then I found that a lot of these parents were still not happy with the public school system. So we wanted to create a hub to educate people of how to opt out of different things, the truth of what's really happening in the public school system, along with helping guide them to create co-ops, different groups, homeschool, and to connect with your community across the island. So this website was created. It is, again, we accept
What
no money, no nothing like that. It's just from the
what's
bottom
the
of
name
our
again?
hearts. Hawaii Parents United.
All right, I'm going to put that in the description
Yes.
below.
Yeah. And so it's basically to help everyone that you sign up. If you have resources, if you're, you have a skill set that's like, hey, I can teach PE or a sport or, educational anything, or if you have homeschool books you want to get rid of, it's just kind of a hub for all of that along with information. So we just want to empower people and make it as easy as possible. And so that was created and been running that, and so that's basically the organization. And then I
Awesome.
still to this day go to meetings, meet with the Board of Education. Again, during that time it was really hard for parents to even get information, and the communication was so lost. So going to the BOE on a regular basis, I finally got sponsored for the first public meeting after the pandemic, if you will. And it was just one of the biggest things that we needed was the communication barriers to be resolved. Yet here we are today still facing those same problems with lack of communication with the very things that are happening on Maui. And
Big, huge.
it's huge. And so it's just so important that people understand that there are people here who are showing up, and understand that we only have one Board of Education, and guess where it's located is on Oahu.
Oahu.
So it's just disappointing because it was put up that we wanted, again, it divided Board of Educations on every single island as opposed to just one here, because it's not fair to the outer islands. Not only that, I feel like it's almost too overwhelming, because I really think how they could have resolved Maui would have been a lot better. And people have to understand the corruption here. And once you get real deep into all of this and start showing up, you will find our governor holds the highest ranking power than any other governor in the entire country. And they appoint the sheriffs that are supposed to hold them accountable for crimes against humanity. They also appoint the Board of Education. So it makes it very difficult to even hold the Board of Education accountable, because we can't say we're not going to reelect you. There's no pressure put on. So it's basically just this trickle down system of control and
Wow.
taking the parents and the people, we the people, out of it. And that needs to change. It wasn't always like that, but they really thought that the people were too incompetent to elect a Board of Education, that they took that away and they passed a law against it.
Wow. So, well, first, thank you so much for the work you're doing because that is
Yes.
absolutely incredible. And you've been an activist and you've gone to every single island except for two, and
Yes.
so yeah, supporting people's rights and just being a stand for freedom. And
Yeah.
it takes something, sister. I know we met in person and on Big Island, and it's just a privilege to know you. So I saw your testimony, which was amazing on Oahu. I loved how you were calling people out. You were, telling someone you're not even listening, you're on your phone, the governor left. What was your biggest takeaway? Because this was a meeting on Oahu to talk about what was going to happen on Maui with the housing situation on Maui. So the Maui people couldn't even get there because they just lost their house. They're in trauma. They don't have anything, you know. And so, but you guys were there speaking out. You guys were the people that were speaking out for Maui. What was that like for you, and what was your biggest takeaway from that?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway again is just being shafted. It's just the reaffirmation that they do not care about what the people say. They have their own agenda, they have a plan, and they're going to do it despite your voice. And that is beyond disappointing. But it's been happening for so long that when you give testimony, and there's no greater testimony than in person. Why? Because you have your presence there, you're able to see all the faces, you get to witness the experience for yourself. And that is also why I do lives, to record certain things, because what you see of the recordings is probably not the whole picture of what's happening in the room. So we do that so then we are able to bring you on the inside to really see the faces, see the backs turned, because they don't always show
Yeah.
that. And so it's really disappointing. But it happens time and time again. So they don't want to even turn around and look at you. There was two gentlemen in particular who had their backs turned to us the entire time. Even when Auntie was speaking, it was just like, where's the respect? And you're on your phones, you're doing other stuff. I mean, Nani Manderas had the nerve to say, hey, show some respect, as the person literally in the video behind her is just on his phone, just chimed out. We need to pay attention to the bigger scale. Josh Green walked out after 15 minutes of giving his showboat little speech and walked out of the meeting. And the minute BJ Penn walked in, you can see the whispers go to side to side. There was a few of us that, you know, Josh Green does know who we are. Like, this is not the first time we've shown up. It's not the first time we've all given testimony. Who you're seeing give testimony, though, especially the people who made us go viral. Thank you so much for doing that and putting us more on the map. It wasn't about Oahu. The major issue at hand was that this meeting should have never been held on Oahu,
Mm-hmm.
that we have to show up to speak for the people of Maui. That was just wrong, first and foremost. And all those people on that board was created essentially, again, appointed people by Josh Green. And so he consistently walks out on the people. He filters questions. He will not answer anything that goes against him, or he feels he can't really address properly because he knows it's wrong. And this has happened time and time again. And you know, in my live, you'll hear my little commentary, which is, you know, HB 525 of digital currency. He had a
Mm-hmm.
town hall. Well, guess what wound up happening? He left that town hall so quick, and the same guy who escorted him out was the same guy filtering his questions. And you could see the note cards getting filtered and skipping over people. And then the outcry when he tried saying it was over was like, wait, you haven't even addressed this yet. And this is one of our biggest issues. He said he would have another meeting when he was followed out by people to talk about this. No, he did not. He lied. And we never had another meeting. And I think people need to really understand, they say things, they make it look nice in front of the cameras, but the behind the scenes is there's no follow up. There's no truth to what they're saying. And the same with Nani Manderas, who you saw, who did resign just recently. But when you're seeing us speak, there was a question asked that if we all coordinate together to talk about what we're going to say in testimonies. I want to be clear with that. No, we don't
Mm-hmm.
have discussion beforehand. It's not pre-planned. Everything that you see coming from all of us is something that is we're passionate about, and
Yeah.
it comes from the heart. And so we all just have the same goal in mind. This is a good versus evil, and someone needs to call them out on it. And so it's an opportunity when you give testimony to have your voice heard. But let's go back in time, because we got word that this press conference, or was happening, not press conference, but this meeting was happening, but was supposed to not happen because they were served papers by people of Lahaina, a lawsuit filed against this, and they still conducted it. So we showed up just in case. We didn't know if they were even going to have it. So we're all going, and also we weren't supposed to allow public testimony. They said
Yeah.
no testimony. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, after we could have recruited how many people, had how many people show up, they say at the end, oh, by the way, we're going to open this for public testimony. Now, think about it this way. They only allowed it to the people who showed up. What about all the people who chimed in on WebEx, whose voices were silenced, that were chiming in from everywhere else, especially Maui? That to
Hmm.
me does not say you really want to listen to the people. It's this kind of sugar coated, oh, I see how many people showed up. Let's just let them speak. So we were all shocked that we even got to speak. I had only gone off 3 hours of sleep myself. It's just been a crazy, wild week, and I had just come back from Maui. So it was just really intense for me. And you'll see my emotion and my tiredness because when you're on the ground, when you're seeing everything, when you're talking to the people, it's so important that you represent them to the best of your ability. And I don't want to take anything away from Maui. My whole thing is calling them out because it should be done on Maui. So me using my voice here on Oahu, um, is all I can provide to the best of my ability. And all those people who spoke up, it was just a beautiful thing to see. But it's so disappointing. Once again, Green walks out. Once again, Nani makes false promises saying, I do care. I want to hear from the people. But let's not forget, she did go to Maui the next day and she walked out 1/3 of those testimonies. No comment, no nothing, no warning, and just left. So she pulled a Josh Green the next day. And you cannot tell the people that you care. You cannot tell the people we're working with you. We care about what you have to say when you're literally walking out on them. So
Yeah.
it's highly disappointing.
So I want to remind everybody listening that you can go to standtogetherhawaii.com and I have some action steps for you. These are not, basically what they are is anybody can do this. Anybody around the world can do this. And what it is complaining to the Housing Board of Ethics for Josh Green, the Maui mayor, and the fire chief, and also complaining to the police commissioner against the police chief. And I have exactly the links, the information of how to do it, even though you just can click on the link and it's pretty self-explanatory, and the list of things that they have, how they have wronged the people. There does, in my opinion, need to be some legal action. There does need to be sheriffs going over there and removing these people from office because they're absolutely tyrannical. There's so much evidence that this is tyranny. And I want to share something at the end of this video of also how to stay grounded and find your balance with all of this madness. So what is happening with the families on Maui? Because the Maui mayor is not answering questions of where the children are, how many children have perished, and the numbers. Like I think it's still 115 died. That's like impossible. But
Yeah.
people are missing. What's your take on that?
So they say that there's 66 still missing. And then I went to the Board of Education meeting where the Department of Education went over the numbers to cross-reference the people who did not re-enroll in school. Now we know re-enrollment could be they moved off island, they're now homeschooling, or they're just not comfortable because we do know that bullying is happening within the schools of Maui of kids that are getting sent over by buses to other schools so they're still getting their education. It makes it very, very complicated, the numbers, because we've got two lists going on and we should really break down those lists. So Josh Green is getting his numbers from the FEMA, the MPD, and the city. They're all working together. They have the missing reports list. So Josh Green, when you're seeing him report things, is who is saying that they're missing. What people often forget is entire families perish. This is the hard part to even talk about because it is a very sensitive subject and we want to pay our respects and not overstep our boundaries with pushing this with people who have genuinely lost people. And not only that, but the people who did not even get reported yet as missing people because entire families perished. So that is the heaviness of all of this, is finding the fine line of showing the respect, giving people the ability to mourn, and then the realities of the corruption going on the higher level. So we don't have accurate numbers. There were tourists, there's so many more people than just families. And we don't have the facts. We might never get the total numbers, and we already know they're keeping them very low. And so the DOE reported that they are not going to disclose how many children because they say the number's too low and they could identify what children they are. And that to me is a lie. That is not
Absolutely.
appropriate. There's no reason for the lack of transparency. That was a huge push at the BOE from multiple people who you actually saw give testimony, from the one that went viral. There was a lot of people still there, like Wallen, Christian, Bingo. They were all there, and they spoke up as well, because it's just one of those issues where the numbers aren't adding up. So let me just make sure I got this right. So it's just frustrating. And so I do want to say to the people in Maui at this point, if there is a way that you can report anyone missing, checking in with families, but some people still don't have phones. Think about it this way. You have insurance on a phone. Well, where is it going to get sent? If you're in a hub, if there's no actual address, like there's so many complicated
My
factors
gosh.
getting to and from, and all of these other issues. They are real issues, and we're not negating the hard work that people are putting in, but let's keep in mind the DOE didn't even start making the calls till a week later to the families. Then they didn't show up for over 3 weeks in Maui to even talk to the people. Then they showed up with a plan already in place without talking to the parents.
Yeah.
It's just like all they want to do is present, and they didn't really inquire and talk to the people and make them feel like they are involved, as they should be involved. These are their children. And it's very, very frustrating. So the numbers that Keith Hayashi revealed in the beginning of the BOE is recorded. We do have it on our Instagram at Hawaii Parents United with the numbers completely broken down. But essentially, at the end of it, we found out that there are still 600 unaccounted for. Now, unaccounted for doesn't mean missing. And that's where the language gets confusing. And that's something that I really wanted to address, because, like, give or take 50, at this point, they had only not contacted 64 families. Now, they might have called them, but then their voice messages are full. They might have emailed, but some people still don't have certain access to computers and then the internet. And if you go into Lahaina and the outer hubs, they do now have internet. There are things happening, thank goodness, in the last, I want to say, week and a half. So at this point, what our main question was is, do you have boots on the ground? Are you going into these places? And they have the master list. We don't. They said that they have a team of 80 people making the calls from the DOE to all these people, but yet there was still 64 families they still had not contacted. And for me, we have to keep in mind that the kids were not in school that day. And I can't reiterate that enough, because I know there's a lot of confusion. So high wind advisories, they did not have school. So no one, sent them home that morning or anything like that. But were the kids by themselves that day? I'm sure plenty were. So that is a reality that we are aware of. And the fact that there's 600 when they started out with 3,000. Okay, so think about it this way: statistically speaking, who's enrolled in private schools, who's left island, all of those factors that play in. But statistically speaking, the numbers are not adding up. So that is the heaviest part, because the missing are probably those unaccounted for, the entire families. And so we don't think that the number is as high as 600. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that high, but 100 what was it? Josh Green said 115 fatalities. It's just not a reality. And then you got to think also the age groups. These are the re-enrolled, right? So that's the list that they're going through that are not enrolled from the previous year. What about everyone who was pre-K? And we're talking babies, we're talking children. That's a heavy reality. And I don't understand why why the DOE is claiming that they're working with the MPD, but yet they're not cross-referencing the missing with the connecting these families and going there and trying to track these people down. This is where you'll hear the people speak out saying, let us in, give us that master list so then we can go in. If we need to sign non-disclosure agreements, if we need whatever to keep the privacy, we're willing to do so when it comes to that. But we do want, first and foremost, letting the families know that you are important and you matter and we're looking for you. How are you doing? Start off with that. And then the follow-up would be, we just want to make sure who is still standing, and we care so much, and we just want to bring you whatever you need to and give you whatever resources. And if you choose to re-enroll, here are your options. There's also the wait list going on right now too, with even online learning. But think about it this way: if you're a parent and you have your kids, and your kids are so used to being around their peers, and you've lost everything, and you are now displaced, and now in school you are not connecting with your peers and everyone that makes you feel whole, complete, like that brings you joy, connecting with your friends. There has been nothing of this. And so my suggestion at the BOE was have a fun event. Even it doesn't even have to be going back to school, but something that is not so serious as testimonies and talking about the future, but just creating the environment of that school where everyone can reunite and see their friends. It's really taking a toll on the kids first and
Yeah,
foremost,
I
because they've
bet.
been displaced now multiple times. And like I said, the teasing's going on. Some kids are not getting the education. You will not be penalized though, because they're saying after fall break. After fall break, though, there will be some issues if you are not re-enrolled. You need to make the contact. We don't want you to suffer any penalties, but we have straight A students who are still grieving themselves and
Oh,
don't
oh
know
my
how well
God, I
they'll
can't
do
even
in
imagine.
school.
They just
Yeah.
lost everything.
And
So
they
when you
haven't
say
connected with everyone. Yes.
penalties, what are you talking about with
So
penalties?
I'm
People,
talking, so you have academic credits, right? So you have to have a certain amount of credits and
see,
a certain amount of attendance.
this is where I get annoyed because
Yes.
with our freedom, it's like it's an illusion. Freedom is an illusion. If you're going to get penalized for something, if you're not going to educated or enrolled in a school, that's just anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So let me not go into there. But I do have a question for you around
Yeah.
the buses. Any like I've been hearing things about buses missing, and then the
Yeah.
children are missing. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I do. And the buses are at the airport. So it's not anything that's too crazy. The footage that people were seeing were things that were being displayed days and day, like I want to say almost a week after the event. So on August 10th, they took school buses and transported a lot of tourists out to the airport, along with people that they were going to put in some of the places out here for the displaced that were set up as hubs, to give them another location. So those buses were being used for that. They're at the airport. They're not missing. I know that's a huge one that so many people wanted answers to. I took time to address that one after 1 month, and it took me a bit because when we're in crisis, my focus is in getting them help immediately. What can we do? How can we help them?
Yeah.
Showing up to things. I didn't have time to research all these ideas and thought processes that are going through everyone's minds. I get it, and I know your brain can run wild, but like when you're in it and you're helping people directly, that's the furthest thing from your mind, is to squash those things. And I think after the 1 month, I kind of decided, I have to talk on this because it's becoming too prevalent, and that is something that can be public knowledge as well. So I know so many people were so concerned about that. And, you guys got to think about this. These school buses, again, school was not in session that day.
Yeah.
So the reality of even that is not like, oh, the school buses just went to all these kids' homes and picked them up when they're not even at a bus stop and took them somewhere. That's just, it's not, it can't, it's too far fetched. So I think the people who are talking about the buses are the people who also think that the kids got sent home that day, and that wasn't the case. So if I can help with any peace of mind with that, hopefully that helps.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I really haven't spoken about it, because I wasn't very knowledgeable, and I don't want to put anything out there that I don't absolutely know in my heart and to be
Yes.
true and have researched it. Um, so now, like, what are the thoughts on what the people can do? Because this is a tyrannical government. This is absolute corruption. They're making plans. I mean, with Josh Green and him suspending 7 laws 3 weeks before the fire, and the whole telling the United Nations, who are not elected officials by anybody, any country, nobody has elected these people to make plans for the lives of people around the world. and him telling the UN that Maui is going to be the first smart city, and then the AI that's happening with the Maui financial chief officer on the board, seeing how AI can govern over the island of Maui. What are your thoughts on those situations, those what's happening with that, and what can people do?
Yeah, so let's just touch base that they did have these meetings. This is not a lie. That is not a conspiracy. They will try and debunk it, saying, there is a difference between 15-minute cities and smart cities. Yes, there is. Thank you so much for, talking about that. AI when it comes to the smart cities. But again, what is the end goal and what is it leading to? And that is the reality that we need to really talk about. It is a very scary thing bringing more AI in. And, they're saying, oh, it's great. We're bringing in technology. We're talking about new ways to handle things. And to me, it's beyond scary. And if you understand the agendas at hand by the world's elite, it's broken down for you. It's no longer even being hidden. It's in plain sight. And for them to not say, of course, we talked about Maui, we talked about all the islands, we talked about, this summit, brought everyone in. Yeah, that's the problem. Everyone, this is a world plan, a global plan, if you will, and we need to really be aware of that. And the best way to fight anything that is by keeping Maui in your mouth, keep talking about it. Do not let this settle and keep the eyes and ears on this. I also think that's why they're not revealing the numbers yet, because I think that's really going to create an outrage with the people because it's been underreported for so long. Now, during COVID, Josh Green had no problem talking about the numbers every single day and giving his little reports and stuff. But this one is so different because they were inflating numbers before, and now they are deflating numbers to basically cover themselves. So I do want to say, paying attention to all of the testimonies that are coming up, putting them on the spot, showing up, recording what's really happening, sharing that information through the Coconut Wireless, where to be, where to go, have your voices heard, and making the calls. Like, you said to the Ethics Commission Board, I think that's a great idea. And as long as it's specific, because I have been to the Ethics Commission Board before, and there is a separation between county, state, and federal levels. So you have to make sure you're reporting properly. And they do investigate it. Just let you know, it does take a very long time, though. But we have seen some results from the Ethics Commission, and they have done some great work. So this is an absolute crimes against humanity. This should have never happened to this extent. This is completely the government's fault when it comes to this, because they rerouted the water. They changed the agriculture of that area. They knew it was a burn zone. They ignored it for a decade of what they could have done. And they keep blaming global warming and climate change. No, you change the environment. This isn't a natural disaster. And that is where I was coming from in stating that. So being active in your community, and anyone who is outside of here, you can also file reports. You can also make the calls. I do suggest that people start calling the mayor, start calling the DOE, start calling the BOE, start calling the city, calling Green, filing official complaints. I always say calling is one route, but create the paper trail with emails. And we really need an outsider to start doing the work. Part of the thing that I even brought up with the DOE, Department of Health is failing us time and time again. And they're the ones who are doing the air quality samples for the schools. Now, we did not know who they gave the soil samples to, and we still have yet to give them that information. They don't have it yet. But they took this how many weeks ago? Why are we still waiting for results? There are people in Lahaina, just outside that burn zone, with entire families and some housing, how many people under tents and everything else.
Yeah.
And they don't have results yet. And they don't know if they're breathing in bad air, but yet you see the president go down there with how many other people, and they're all unmasked. So if the air quality is so bad, you have to start questioning certain things, because that is my question. We need to know who is doing the investigative work and filing the complaints with the Department of Health. Why have you not given the answers yet to the people? It's been 1 month. It's been 1 month right now. And it's always a pointing of fingers. And that's what our state is notoriously known for, is placing blame on everyone else. But guess who's going to have to pay for it in the end? The people. Because if it's coming out of the money of the state, where do you think they get that money from, you guys? government funded is tax funded, you, the taxpayers. So I hope everyone's paying attention to that, because they're like, oh, the government's paying for this. No, it's not the government, it's you, the people.
Yeah.
And I hope that infuriates you, because that is what it really comes down to, because all of this could have been avoided. And so it's just, there's so much corruption, there is so much lack of transparency. And when they did that emergency proclamation 3 weeks before this fire, they set it up for themselves that they would not have to reveal everything, and they can override certain laws and railroad people. And it's so frustrating, because I just got word that there was a camp, Imua camp in Maui, that was helping take care of children. And, you know, they're telling parents, go back to work. I think this was August 10th, telling parents that they need to go back to work. The next day, they shut it down due to permitting. But yet you can pass other permits, override certain steps. And this is a childcare system where all these people have background checks. They're walking the kids to the bathrooms. It's completely safe. A great staff. It was working for the people of Lahaina. And they took that away from them. And there is not a lot of school systems for anything under pre-K. So it's a travesty. And they, during that time, did not have internet. Like, it kept getting bounced back. They had to keep making these calls, and to get permitting, you know, talk about that.
That's evil. That's evil.
Exactly.
So this again goes into, how can we get these dictator, tyrannical people out of office? Because and it feels like we are completely, it feels like we're just like, this is a tyrannical dictator. And I don't know how else. I mean, and so I'm just wondering, like, a military or the other sheriffs coming in. I don't know. I don't understand, because I don't see how this can get better.
And this is why I said we are so corrupt. We are the only state in the entire country that has elected sheriffs. Sheriffs are the ones who are meant to arrest the people for crimes against humanity. I honestly really feel that if you are in the police department, if you are a sheriff, if you are in any city position, if you are an educator, anyone who has certain intel, to start speaking up. You got to risk it all for the greater good. I've said this before. I would be willing to die for this cause, because there is nothing greater than looking back at our founding fathers and all that they sacrificed for our freedom. And they lived horrible lives afterwards. I am not going to sugarcoat it at all. You know, a lot of them perished in horrible, miserable ways, families, you name it. And it's not pretty. But guess what that set? Our Constitution. And these people here don't care about our Constitution. And, you know, we're in this de facto right now that we really need to get back into the de jure and educating ourselves on the Constitution and rising up and standing up with the people. Now, I want to say, it's going to take the people. We need not just 5,000, we need 100,000. We need all people to start rising up. Enough is enough. If you wait any longer at this point, I don't know what it's going to take to wake you up, but if you wait any longer, it's already been in place. But Nani Mandira has stepped down. If, you know, with the pressure on from the outside people, you could blame whatever you want, Mr. Green, you know, saying it's all BJ. But the truth is it's all these outside people who are just so infuriated and speaking up. Not to mention, she got that lawsuit brought on her along with everyone else. And because they should have never had that meeting, and they're acting in de facto, and that's not the way it goes. So we really need to take it back to the people, and we want to empower you, and we are educating you. So if you guys want to get active and involved with that and live on these islands, you can always contact me, because we need to take more action. And that is, there's so many people who actually are doing things. You just got to connect with them first. And that is what it's going to take, is willing to risk it all. Like,
I agree.
You just have to be willing to risk it all for the greater good. Good versus evil. You make sacrifices. I myself, you think it's easy showing up to all these things and talking? You know, I take financial blows. I do everything volunteer. A lot of these people who are on these boards are doing it volunteer, right? And so it's like, the fact that we're putting in so much time and effort and wanting to help them, and how much they close the doors on us, the people need to start demanding things more and more, and all eyes on them. And truth be told, when it comes to Maui, it's the people who want to rebuild it. It's the
Yeah.
people who have the vision. And there's so many different groups that have all their leaders. But what I told Nani is, it doesn't matter just the leaders. You need to hear everybody. And then when you're a good leader, you hear everyone out. You meet with your like team and you cipher through what is really effective, what is going to be for the greater good, what is it that people want, what are immediate things that we can be doing right now and get it done, and then what's going to take time. So it does make things complicated. It's not easy. Anyone who's in these positions, I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not even condemning all of them, because there are certain good people in,
Yeah.
government roles, but it's going to come a time and a place where you're going to have to make a choice. Is this not okay? And you're starting to see people starting to resign, but I just feel like they're the scapegoats. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
really,
absolutely.
we got to cut them off with the legs. And Wallen Christian and I, we did a live the other day, and we were just talking though, just sharing information. And she said it best, when we just need to cut the legs off of these people. So we need to get to the base, their workers, the lower end workers, if you will, because that is who they get all this from. That is who supports them. That is how they are able to function and everything else. And these people are allowing this to happen. So we need to
You're
really
right.
focus and educate on who works for these people, who is speaking, and hold them just as accountable, because
Absolutely.
everyone at the higher level are all just puppets, that everything's kind of being trickled down. Who's really calling the shots here? Because in all reality, if you study the law, that governor Josh Green, he held the highest ranking power. For him to say I'm just one person, nonsense. You hold the highest power. You're not just one person. I'm just one person. I don't have the strings that you can pull. You could have allowed that water to be released, but due to equity and the rerouting of water going to all the green places that you see, these hotels, these major businesses, and you'll see the local people in all their dry areas and their brown grass and all of these things, because you took away their water. You sold it. You sold it. And when you do that, and when you talk about equity, anything that has that word equity, I hope all your ears perch, because it's a negative. It is not a good thing. Doesn't matter where it is, school system, it's everywhere, and it's horrible. And so in general, it should have never taken 5 more hours for that water to be turned on. That was disgusting. Not only that though, but was it the police making the shots in,
Hmm.
blocking people in Lahaina? That is something that we still question, because moral people, we just can't. It's just like so hard to fathom that you could possibly follow orders in that state and let people burn. Like I'm still
That
trying to
is
process
murder.
that.
That's what I've
Yes.
said.
So is it that, or did we have already UN police here? Do we already have certain people in place? I don't know. And there's a lot of thoughts on this, and we don't have those answers. And like you, I don't like speaking on anything unless I can back it up with some truth and like evidence, because there's so many things that our brains are running wild. And this is
Yeah.
not normal, because Maui is so small, you guys. The
It's
islands are
small.
so small. Maui, everyone knows everyone. So there's nothing that you can really do without someone knowing something. And it's not like a world issue where it's happening everywhere per se. Yes, all these fires burning. Yes, we're uniting, but like what happened in Maui and how it played out is unreal. And we're really trying to get to the nitty gritty of that. I wish I had the answers of all the solutions, except for
Well, I have a question
to
for
get
you around
activated.
I've heard that they want to move the Lahaina people to Puna, Big Island. Do you know
So
about that?
so I was in the meeting, and in the report, and I did actually state it, and it should be on the record. There is one section, and I believe it was like 312 section C. I can't remember, so don't quote me on that directly, but I do know it was section C, that they have plans. So again, this emergency proclamation was a housing issue for homeless, right? And they were talking about different things, and the pricing out the people. Well, we all know why that is, but that's not. This is the first of its kind where emergency proclamation was not an actual
Yeah, emergency.
emergency, if you
Hmm.
will. It's just like this has been an ongoing issue. I don't know how you declare it an emergency besides the fact that you're just pricing us out. So when it came to that issue in general, they have ideas. This whole panel got put into place because they have ideas of to set up different housing, not just in Puna though. It was there was a couple other places as well, and they still plan to do this. Now, what they had said though, we're going to give the people of Maui the option that if they want to go there, they can go there. So, as much as they're saying they're not forcing people, is what they're claiming, they are going to create the space though for those people and say, hey, if you want to move there, here's another option for affordable housing and be closer to other family members that you might have, whatever the case may be. So it
Yeah,
is
but
still
living
real.
on
It's in their
Maui and
plan.
living on Maui, Lahaina, and then moving to Puna, Big Island, that is black and white. Those are two extraordinarily different spectrums.
Yes.
And for them to even consider that, it's like, no, person's house burns on
Right.
Maui, let's rebuild on Maui. And the whole build back better, all of these terms, they want people to think, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. No, it's actually like the Patriot Act. When the two towers that happened
Yes.
tomorrow, the anniversary of that happened, they had what's called the Patriot Act. That took away so many of our rights. And people don't realize,
Yes.
oh, the Patriot Act, yeah, yeah, for our freedom. No, it wasn't. It was actually against the people. So, that's one thing that it's like people seeing what they're doing and seeing that they have the problem and solution, and we as people, like you said, we need to stand up. And there's another thing I want to say around that, because this is a really heavy time, and it does take something, especially, I'm single, don't have kids, so I have my own business, but I actually stopped running my business and started doing this, and I just kept my private clients and did a couple detox programs a year, and just to keep doing this, because this is where my heart was. This is where I was pulled to, what I was pulled to do. And not everybody is pulled to do this work, and that's okay, but you can, like I said, go to standtogetherhawaii.com and you can make a complaint. It doesn't take long. We're talking a couple minutes, a complaint to the Hawaii State Board of Ethics against the governor, then the Maui Board of Ethics against the Maui mayor and the Maui fire chief, and then the Maui Police Commission against the Maui police chief. This is all of those links are on standtogetherhawaii.com. It doesn't take long. It'll take you less than an hour to do all of these, probably even 20 to 30 minutes, because I lay it out for you super easy. So everybody can do that. If not, everybody can get a YouTube channel and do all the work that we're doing, but everybody can do that. So I
Yeah.
also
Michelle,
want
do
to,
you have the laws too, by any chance, with those complaints? Because, like, with the
no,
police
send those to me.
commissioner, okay,
Yeah.
because, like, so, it's legally against the law for the police commissioner to be the coroner.
Yes.
It's against the
Yes,
law.
I saw
So,
that.
if you guys can provide more law into your statements, and I am only saying this because I've been in the when you do so much of this, you have to start citing things, making sure that it's
Hmm.
proper. And when you are in certain groups, how they run meetings by Robert's rules, you want to be as concise as possible. So you could say this is crimes against humanity, this is illegal, but when you cite what is illegal, it does bring more merit to it and more reality that you are educating yourself on this and you know the truth and your eyes are on them as well. They can't ignore it. So,
Because I don't know the exact law. I saw it, and
yeah,
if you can send that to me, that would be really great.
yeah.
Yes, and I agree with that. So what I want to say lastly around this, and I want to ask if there's anything else you want to share, is that we have to remember that there's a reason why each one of us came here, and the thing about good and evil, I was talking to someone this morning who I'm hoping he'll interview with me later, because he's got some really good information about not only the why environmentally the fires happened in Maui, and also I'm going to be doing a video on the fact that geologists, meteorologists, climatologists say there's no global warming, that the earth warms and it cools, and we're actually going into a cooling phase. And actually Haleakala is showing that she's cooling, not warming. So this whole thing about global warming, it just isn't. And the founder of the Weather Channel over 50 years of experience in climatology, meteorologist, and as a meteorologist, saying this is not Pono, that they're talking about climate change, that they're claiming this is global warming, because it's not. So I'm going to be doing a whole video on that. But the other thing that I wanted, well, first let's go to you before I finish up with that. Is there anything else you want to share?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is that everyone has a skill set. I've talked about this before, but you don't always have to be front lines. You don't always have to be in the face. You don't always have to give testimony, but you can give written. You need to get activated, though, in some way, shape, or form, whether you can research, whether you know law, whether you do media work, whether you do whatever it takes to help become a part of this functioning system outside of government elitists and our controlled media. We need more people revealing truth, and it's you on the ground. It's you, the people, need to start depending less and less on the government. Get inspired, get educated, connect, find your tribe, grow your strength, be prepared. And yes, you can. You can do anything. And it might be uncomfortable. It might feel awkward, but there's going to come a time that you're going to regret, and you never want to live in regret saying, I did nothing. So stay focused, stay vigilant, connect with the right people, and take action any which way that you see fit. Now is not the time to stay silent. Silence is compliance and allows them to just railroad us. So we need to stay focused on that. And if that's the only words of wisdom I could ever give, that's it.
I love it. I love it. And that's so true. And here's the thing is, if it feels overwhelming, just do one thing. Just go to standtogetherhawaii.com and just make a complaint with the Hawaii State Board of Ethics against Governor Green. That's all you do. And the other thing is to prepare. Don't let your gas tank go below half a tank. That's one thing that kept people from leaving. Was a lot of people. I was watching this guy from Lahaina, and a lot of people were out of gas. And they had to actually stay at a gas station, and people were coming in bringing them gas so that they could fill up their cars and leave, because they didn't have enough gas to leave. So don't let your tank get below half a tank. I actually that's a rule for me. And then I have a to-go bag in my car that has food, some supplies like duct tape and scissors, and extra pair of shoes, extra pair of clothes, extra pair of underwear, and some water in these little packets that were for emergency water. That's all in my to-go bag. And so just little things like that. And so you don't have to get overwhelmed. And then, like Jessica was saying, getting with like-minded people, learn, who are your neighbors? I remember, I lived in LA for a little bit, and I didn't know any of my neighbors until the Northridge earthquake happened, where that next door neighborhood swimming pool broke and all the water was rushing into the street. Then we learned who our neighbors were, because the neighbors were coming out and there was no electricity. And then everybody's like, and then we actually stayed in the park because nobody wanted to go into the houses because there was still tremors. So people were sharing food. And that's the thing. This is a battle of good and evil. And the evil, they don't want us to connect, because we have so much power when we are in our hearts and when we love each other. And we really do love each other. That's why the whole COVID thing worked so well, was because people didn't want to hurt other people. But the thing is that was an absolute lie. When you wear something that covers your mask, that covers your face from being able to breathe, it doesn't work against viruses, because does your underwear stop gas? Okay, that's the best analogy. That's the same thing with the mask. It doesn't work. I've been a fitness and health wellness professional for 27 years, and I was like, this is, that's when I started speaking out. I was like, whoa, this madness has gone over the top. And so before I go too much off a tangent, I do want to ring it in. And one thing that one of my friends was saying this morning was that even though, Michelle, even though this is a war, we are in a war between good and evil, we also want to stay equanimous. And I learned this word when I did a 10-day Vipassana meditation. And it was feel like when I sat for 10 hours, we did meditations, and we would do an hour and a half of meditation, and we did 10 hours a day of meditating. And I remember, sitting there and feeling really uncomfortable. My leg or my hip would start to feel painful, or I'd get an itch on my nose. And after the third day, you're not supposed to move at all. You're supposed to feel into whatever's uncomfortable find the boundary of the discomfort. And I would do that, and then it would go away. Even the little itch on my nose would go away after a while, and I would just feel it, notice it, recognize it, be the observer of it. And that would bring me back into absolute balance, into if it was cold or if it was too hot. And so what I invite you to do right now is to just think in your heart, what is mine to do? I love the word kuleana, and that's a Hawaiian word, and it means what is mine to do? What is my kuleana? You know, what is your kuleana? So it's like feeling into your own heart and thinking about, okay, what's my kuleana? What's mine to do? What can I do, even if it's just one thing that's going to have me feel good about myself and empowered, knowing that I took a step for freedom and I took a step for my community. And then also get into balance and start to trust there is a higher power. And some people call it God. My whole vision of religion has completely changed. Now, I'm going to share that at some point. But feeling into the frequency, this empty space, like I said before in one of my other videos, is not empty. It's the geometric shape of the flower of life, which is tattooed on my wrist. And so Jessica, every single cell of her body, every single cell of my body, the atoms in our body are made of this geometric shape, which is the flower of life. And it's a frequency. They've actually seen, I was watching Greg Braden, and I'm going to do a video about what he shared last night, because I went to bed going, oh my God, this is amazing, that the atoms that we have been taught circle, they actually don't circle. They actually pulsate out frequency. That's what every single atom that we have does. It pulsates out a frequency, and the frequency that it pulsates out is based on what you feel, your feelings. So if you're in fear or sadness or anger, you're pulsating that out into the empty space, into the field. And I used to be, and still sometimes am, it can be, addicted to anger. So what I do with that is I breathe into it, and I acknowledge that this body, this shell, has a vibrational pattern of anger, and I don't make it wrong. We have been taught to make ourselves wrong. We have been taught to not like our bodies, the whole gamut of it all. But for me, I just go, I'm feeling anger, and I start to become the observer of that, and it starts to go away. So in this present moment, and I'd love to do a prayer, Jessica, with you, and to finish this off. In this present moment, just notice whatever it is you're feeling. That's a normal human feeling. There's nothing right about it, and there's nothing wrong about it. Just be the observer of whatever it is that you're feeling. When you start to do that, you breathe into this miracle of a body. You're not plugged into the wall. You don't have batteries. What is the power that is beating your heart and breathing your body? It's the same exact power that is running the tides in the ocean and moving the sun across the sky and growing the plants in the soil. And the plants, an acorn, when it gets in the soil, it's pressed against soil. It's in the darkness, and it's got pressure on it. And then what happens is it starts to pop out. And like just that acorn, it starts to grow to the light. And then at one point, it's going to pop out of the earth, and it's going to turn into this amazing oak tree over time. And that's what's happening right now. We are under pressure. There is darkness. We keep breathing into the light that we are. And this is a spiritual journey. And it's really important to start to create a powerful relationship, or any relationship, with your higher power. That's really, really important right now. And trusting in this source, Like I was going to bed, and, I've had people tell me scary shit, Michelle, you got to be careful, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? I believe in a higher power. I know I'm always kept safe. I know I'm always guided. And whatever my journey is, I trust it, because there's something inside of me that is guiding me. And anytime I've gotten stuck with my business or whatever, I would go, what's next? What's next? I don't know what's next, universe, but I know you do. So I'm just going to give it to you. And then usually at 4:30 in the morning, I wake up and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do next. So if that's you and you're just like, I don't know what to do, just ask. Ask your higher power. Ask this source that is breathing your body. What's next for me? What is mine to do? What's my kuleana? And then let it go. Let any thoughts go. Let any judgments go. and just trust it's going to show up for you, because it is. These people, this tyrannical government, these I believe in demons. I think there are demons definitely in a lot of these people in office, and they don't want us to know the power we have. They don't want us to know that we are all connected. And that's why the social distancing, it was actually physical distancing, but they don't want us to be socially together, because we're super powerful when we are. When you hug somebody and you feel that, have you ever hugged somebody for just a little bit longer and you just feel that connection and that love? That is power. That is powerful. And they don't want us to have that, or to understand the actual true power that we have, which is way more than fear mongering and being enslaved at the way that they have done this, what they've
And if
done
I
to
could
these
chime in
people.
really quick, when you're
Yes,
talking about all
Jessica,
this,
go.
where I'm finding the biggest need to explain something is, if you need to be balanced, one of the biggest things too is you cannot deny your calling. So when you deny, or you feel called to something and you do nothing, that puts you at dis-ease. And so if you're being called to do something, you may not want to do it. It might feel uncomfortable. It might feel out of like your sorts, if you will. But I'm going to tell you, you're being called to do it for a reason. If you're feeling it in your heart and soul, I don't like doing everything that I have to do, but I'm called to do it. So I feel like I'm doing a disservice and putting myself at dis-ease if I don't follow through and go, like, put myself through it, challenge myself to grow, challenge myself to be in uncomfortable situations, because that's listening to what is being called to me. So I think that was something that when you said that, it just chimed in with me. And also it reminded me, all the people of Maui who made so many sacrifices just did it because they just knew it was the right thing to do. You know what? I'm going to spend my own money. I'm going to fill up all this. I'm going to get gasoline. I'm going to get it in there. I'm going to give them all that I have. Like, you name it. I'll sacrifice you getting out before me. I'm going to go back in to pull other people out and give warnings. That was their call. They just instinctually knew the right thing to do, and that they might have gone through the ringer and, suffering from PTSD and everything else that they went through. But the thing is, they did what they were meant to do. You are here to do something on this planet. You have a purpose, you have a gift. Listen to it, follow through with it. And I gotta just say, the people of Maui, the way that they've come through for one another is just beyond belief, a beautiful thing. And it just shows you how strong the islands are and how much the outer islands came to the rescue too. It's just, we are more connected, more than they even realize. And if it doesn't show you that during this time of how much we got in, despite them not letting us go in, how we still found ways to get things in to help the people. I mean, we can. Yes, we can.
Oh my God, I love that. I absolutely love that. And yes, and one thing about Maui is, I've said this before, she's the heart of all the Hawaii Islands. She's the heart frequency, heart chakra of all the Hawaii Islands. And so if there's anything last you want to share? If not, let's do a quick I don't like to call it guidance or a visualization. And all right, so just go ahead and relax into your body. And I invite you to just close your eyes and check in with your body right now and feel the emotional frequency that's present at this time. There's nothing wrong and there's nothing right about what you're feeling. It's just a normal human emotion in this normal human body. And notice that your body is being breathed. It's breathing itself. You're not plugged into the wall. You don't have batteries. Your heart is beating. It's beating a gallon of blood through miles and miles of veins throughout your entire body in this present moment. In this present moment, there are billions of processes happening to keep you alive, to keep you being able to hear what I'm saying and understand my words, to keep you upright if you're sitting upright. There's muscles that are engaged, and you don't have to do anything. This is how much you're taken care of in this present moment, right here and right now. So putting your hands on your heart and just check in with however you're feeling, sending yourself compassion The Buddha says, you, more than anyone in the entire universe, deserve your love and compassion. So sending yourself so much appreciation for your courage to be here at this time in history, and acknowledging everything you've gone through in your life, because there are things that nobody knows about your life, but you do. Only you really know every single thing you've gone through. So sending yourself compassion and understanding. And now feeling into this frequency that's around you right now, and feeling into what's your kuleana, what is yours to do. And you may not know it and it may not come, but just trust that it's there, it's somewhere, and it's going to show up. And feeling into your human body in this present moment, giving yourself permission to find the emotional frequency of love, of this feeling of when you first hold your newborn baby, or when you hold a puppy and you smell that puppy and it licks your face and people are laughing, that sound of laughter, or that feeling of when you go to a concert that you love and you're having the best time and people are dancing and they're just connected and everybody's laughing and hugging and feeling so, so good. Give yourself permission in this present moment to feel that, even though this world seems crazy. Give yourself permission to, in this present moment, find the frequency of love in your human body. Remembering a time that made you smile and that you had so much fun. And now remembering a time where you were really courageous. And it might have been just raising your hand in school and giving an answer to a question. It might have been asking somebody out on a date. It might have been going to a job interview. That takes courage. So feel that in your human body. And every cell of your body vibrates with that frequency. And now we're combining those two frequencies of love and of courage and putting them together and feeling both of them together as one. The feeling of courage and the feeling of love combined together through the infinite source of all things that is moving the sun across the sky, guiding the honeybees to their next flower. And feel that frequency in your body start to emanate out, because your body has a frequency field about 12 feet. And feeling it, you can actually feel it go out of your body, this frequency. Actually, you can't, it just happens. But acknowledging it and noticing it right here and right now. That this frequency of love and of courage goes out past your body, past the physicalness that you are. And now feeling that frequency go throughout all the four walls that you're in, or if you're outside, it starts to emanate out to the empty space, which is not empty. It's a frequency field. It's like fish swim through water. We walk through this frequency field every day. We can never not be connected to it. It is in every cell of our body. It is in the empty space that surrounds us. It's in the empty space that surrounds all of the furniture around us. So you're feeling this frequency of love and of courage go out throughout your whole home, touching anybody in your house, going out to your neighborhood. And it starts to touch anybody who feels alone, who feels scared, who's worried or confused. And this frequency of love and of courage goes to your entire town, throughout your entire town, just like the wave of an ocean. It starts to go through all the towns around you. It starts to go through your state or your province. And it just starts to go through your entire continent. It surrounds and goes around all the Hawaii Islands. And it starts to go over to Canada and to Mexico and the UK, Russia, Ukraine, China, Australia, New Zealand, wraps all the way around the planet. And now you're feeling the frequency of pulsating. This planet is pulsating like a light. And it's a frequency of love and of courage and of absolute compassion for all of the people that are living on the planet right now. Because my word, Everyone has gone through so much trauma these past few years. And we just breathe into this amazing frequency of love and of courage. And we send this frequency out knowing that it's touching all people who need it right now in this present moment. And it slowly comes back to you and wherever you're at, seated in the world. And you're feeling into your empty space, coming back into your body, and you're sending so much appreciation for your higher self that said, yes, I'm going to go to Earth at this time, and I'm going to play this game called living in a human body at this time in history with all of these changes, this fourth turning that is happening right now through the crisis of all of these events around the world. So you're sending yourself so much appreciation for your courage that you had that said, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to play this game. And I'm going to do my kuleana, my part, what is mine to do, what I can do. And I'm going to leave the rest and trust in this higher power, this infinite source. And breathing into the knowingness that you are always guided. You are always protected. This higher self that again is germinating the plants in the soil and having them move toward the light has got your back. There is a new world that's coming, and it's a world of love and of connection and of empowerment. And it's already here because it's inside of you, which means it's in the field of infinite possibilities that surrounds the planet. And that frequency is touching everybody. There's nothing that this cannot touch. It surrounds everything. So breathing into the knowingness that we don't know how this is going to work out, but we trust that it is. We send so much love to Maui. We send them courage. We send them inner strength. We know that they are taken care of and that there is a higher power that is going to show a miracle. We send that miracle now. We just give so much gratitude for it. We breathe into this present moment, coming back into this space, wiggling your toes and your fingers. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Well, Jessica, I just want to say thank you so much mahalo to you, sister. I know you've been on this
Thank you
journey
so much. Yeah, never
long
stopped.
time.
Never stopped. All right. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me and giving me a voice, and most of all, just helping be a voice for the people of Maui. I think that's just the biggest thing, you know, and just stay minded in the sense that let Lahaina rebuild Lahaina, talk to the people. I'm not here to dictate what happens there. It's their choice, and we need to just support them in that journey and just hold the government officials accountable and make sure they follow through with their promises.
Absolutely. And I just want to share one last thing, that when we get into anger, which believe me, I've been there many times throughout the past 3 years, when we turn toward that higher power and go, okay, universe, so whatever you want to call it universe, I call it source. I know you got this. I know you got this. And we trust that actually helps the anger for you to get more in balance. So I just want to offer that to everybody, as well as that prayer. And Jessica, you are just a rock star light warrior. And because I know what it takes to get up every single morning and to choose doing something that doesn't pay you, but that you know is right. And you know it's yours to do. I'm in that boat with you, sister.
And I would do it over and over again because it's not
Me
about
too.
me, it's about the people. So always has been.
Absolutely. I love
right.
it. Yeah. All right. We'll talk with you later, and much aloha.
Aloha.